Here, when people come to my studio, they really like this thing. It's just like me scraping my brush and painter's knife on the wall over the years. Here is a painting I'm working on. It is not done yet. I think I'm gonna bring in some like painterly elements to it, like have some some more brush strokes and stuff like coming out of the background. Here's a painting. This painting is called Acid House. I'm sure you can see why. I kind of want to do more paintings like this. I think it's tedious, but I like the end result. Here's another painting that I did. People have said this is like a mix of de Kooning and Tanguay, kind of put into like a surrealist vibe or whatever. I don't know. I was kind of trying to make. I think it did turn out to be more figurative than I wanted it to, but I just kind of wanted to make something that like skirted the line between figurative and abstract. I think it came out pretty good though. I like this yellow shadow. Anybody who's ever walked under like a blue street light will know that there's a yellow shadow. There are other times in life when there are yellow shadows as well. Here's a painting that's a little different. This is one of a series of paintings that I've been working on. It's based on action figure play sets. I wanted them to be kind of amorphic and maybe lots of stuff going on. Maybe like it's not instantly recognizable what it is at first. Kind of psychedelic. This is like a ceramic dog sculpture that I bought at a thrift store and then painted it. And these little drips are very fragile. That took a long time to do. I just had to keep pouring resin on its head until it solidified. These stickers right here are from a doll factory that I used to live above in New York. We would go. Well, it was closed, but we would break into it. But I got like reels of these stickers, and I've used them over and over again through the years. I would got molds and bags of eyeballs and stuff like that. Here, this is my modular synthesizer. I've been using modular synth for about 10 years. The tactile nature of it makes a lot more sense for me, much more so than a computer. And I don't know. Making sound pieces is kind of, in my mind, the same as making visual artwork. I guess I would equate like building a complicated patch to making a sculpture. What I think is really cool about modular though is you can set up different parameters with semi-random, random functions, Euclidean patterns, and make a self-playing piece of music that continues to change, and you can control how much it does or doesn't repeat itself. I think I've got a little example going on here. I'm from Boone. Boone was a great place to grow up. I grew up, you know, early on in life, spent a lot of time. There weren't a lot of kids in my neighborhood, so I spent a lot of time kind of by myself, in a good way, outside. I don't know, I think, you know, being like surrounded by nature and, you know, the mountains are such a beautiful place to live. I don't know, I guess in retrospect, when I think about it, maybe it helped me develop like kind of a rich interior creative life, maybe. And I went to, you know, after growing up in Boone, I went to the North Carolina School of the Arts for high school. And then I went to the Boston Museum School of Fine Art. I lived in New York for a while, well, for like 10 years. New York, at the time, it was great. It was cheap. It was fun. It was cheap. It was cheap in the sense that I could afford an apartment. I, however, could not afford a studio space. And I think New York, I think after a while it kind of like started to weigh on me, like psychically in a way. It was like, just, you know, even just the fact that there's so many people around each other all the time, you know, even if I can't see them or if I even really know they're there, it started to bother me, I think. So yeah, I moved back to North Carolina. I like living in North Carolina. Raleigh's cool. Raleigh's got some really good artists. You know, Anchor Light is another really good spot. Some good work there. If anything, I don't know, if anything, I feel like I might need to participate a little bit more I have a tendency to just stay in my studio and work. I don't know. Some people say painting's outdated. I don't really care about that. I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of really good painters, new painters, innovative painters. I don't know. I've always been kind of drawn to doing 2D work. You know, I don't know. I guess I'm drawn to things that are tactile, that are tangible, you know, that have like a texture. Like a lot of the newer paintings I've been doing, like I don't start out with a plan. Like I just, you know, put some shapes on the canvas and then, you know, just kind of build an image out of that. And I think my stronger work is done that way, opposed to operating from like a sketch. I think there's like, you know, like the kind of creative process and or struggle is lost if I'm working with like, you know, a defined sketch or projection. I really like Philip Guston, Albert Ullin, Peter Saul, those, you know, as painters, de Kooning. I like kind of multidisciplinary artists, you know, like Mike Kelly or Paul McCarthy, especially his earlier stuff. I don't know, I'm interested in like maybe like collectives like Destroy All Monsters or Fluxus, you know, operating. I like the idea of people operating in a group to make a product. I like bands for that reason. I like that about bands. I'm trying to think anybody else. I mean, there's a ton of other people. You know, like a lot of the music I make is improvised. Some of the bands I play in, you know, it's improvised music. Yeah, I guess that speaks to what I was just talking about a collective. I don't know. I feel like there's a strong connection between improvising with sound and painting. You know, like not knowing what you're going to do or having like a structure that you're gonna operate within, but you know, like but leaving, you know, kind of letting the piece kind of evolve and in a way kind of make itself kind of, you know, like with the playset paintings, you know, that's kind of the idea is not nostalgia. It's kind of like a small, you know, like the idea that you could build like a small universe that's its own little town, or I guess that is kind of like nostalgia, because that's something what a kid does. But maybe that idea, I don't know, maybe some kind of like adult version of that, but not, which doesn't involve playing with toys. For me, they're very much the same, or they occupy the same space in my head. I don't know, I like music that is loud and can be abrasive and dynamic, but also, that is varied. Like on a good day in my studio, like I'll work on a painting, and then while I'm waiting for paint to dry, I will go over to my synthesizer and work on a piece of music, and kind of go back and forth through the day. That feels like a very like fulfilling day in the studio for me. Experimentation is incredibly important to me. I can't make the same. I know a lot there. I see a lot of artists, making the same work over and over again. I personally can't do that. I think it would be boring to the point where the work would suffer. Like the work would be bad. I need to like continuously try to challenge myself and/or be inventive. I'm trying to take more risks in my work, like in my painting especially. I feel like I get to a point in the painting where I start to be scared about messing it up, and I feel like that's maybe a hurdle that probably all painters have to get over. I think. I'm not totally sure about that. Yeah, just to, I guess, be a little, take bigger risks. And I feel like when I see people doing that in their work, it always impresses me. You know what I mean? I don't know if saying it's dangerous is the right word, but there's a component to it that seems really alive to me, I guess. Like it, I mean, you can always see the artist's hand in a work, but I don't know, I just feel like that, kind of exemplifies it. I'm going to do a demo. I'm going to show you a technique I use to build paintings or imagery that I often use, a technique I often use. It's a masking technique. I'm going to cut this shape out on this Oracle 361 vinyl. This is a removable vinyl that they use in sign shops. It's really good. It keeps a really tight line, like for like blocking or masking, using it as a stencil. And because it's removable, it won't damage the surface. It comes off really easily, or not too easily, but easy enough that it works well for this purpose. So I'm going to apply it to this canvas that I have prepared. And one thing that's kind of important to know when you're doing this is I'm going to be cutting on the canvas. So, you have to do that really lightly. But one thing I do is because I want a really smooth surface, I want to remove the grain from the canvas as much as I can to keep like a really tight line. I apply multiple coats of gesso heavy or golden extra heavy matte medium. This I have right here is watered down, but this is the container it comes in. And I start with paint first when I'm priming the canvas, and then use several coats of heavy matte medium, which I put on with a brush, and then I kind of move it around and trowel it off with the latex squeegee or a silicone squeegee. And it's kind of a technique I've devised. It took me a while to figure it out, but if you lightly sand between coats, you can build like a really nice uniform surface that does hide the grain of the canvas. So I'm just going to cut this shape out. And I'm using just an X-Acto knife. I'm using a very light hand. It's a new blade. I go through lots of X-Acto knife blades. When I'm doing this, I'm trying to follow the line that I've drawn on here, but I'm trying to keep kind of like a fluid, kind of like a loose wrist, like so I can, kind of have retain like a fluid line quality. Oftentimes I'll cut out the shapes beforehand with scissors. One thing that I do a lot is I just cut out random shapes, and I'll start a painting that way, or if I'm stuck, like in the middle of a painting, I'll just cut out some random shapes and put them on the canvas, and just, kind of see what happens. Let me fix that. And, this offcut, like you could save this, or a lot of times I save these, use it for something else. I'm just going to stick it on there. So this is, heavy matte medium that I've watered down quite a bit. So it's more liquidy. The really heavy matte medium is very heavy, in a good way. So I'm going to apply it to the canvas and try to evenly as possible. But what this does is it seals the shape. Like, this might be overkill. Like this vinyl most of the time would keep like a nice hard line on the finished product. But I don't know. I like to do this. It ensures that the perimeter of the shape will be very hard edged. That's got to dry. So the matte medium is dry. I'm just going to use some like off-cut vinyl, opaque vinyl, to just kind of like mask off my working area. Just because I don't, I'm doing this as a demonstration, but I want to potentially use these. I want to make a piece of art out of this. So I'm trying not to get paint like outside of the masked area where the vinyl is. So this will just help me define my work area. So I'm gonna apply some paint. I'm using Pyroli Red Light, which is the Ferrari color, and I can't remember. This is like I can't remember what it's called. It's blue. I like these two colors together. It has kind of like a 3D effect. It kind of like hurts your eyes if you stare at it too long, which I'm into. One thing to make that I found when blending acrylics work well is I use this airbrush medium. It thins the paint but helps it retain some opacity. This technique is really time sensitive. It needs to be done kind of quickly. in order for it to work. And the paint needs to kind of stay in like, it needs to be, I mean, obviously it needs to be wet to blend it, but it needs to be kind of like in a fluid state. It can't be too thick, it won't work right, and it'll dry too quickly. And you don't want it to be too watery either. It won't work right. It won't blend together correctly in my experience. So I'm going to kind of define the color areas here. Just going to kind of put some blue on there. Do some red. I'm just going to put the colors on there, and then I'm going to go back into it, and I'm just kind of defining the color zones here. I'm going to go back in a minute and put kind of a final coat on before I blend the colors together. If you want to try this yourself, where the blue and the red meet obviously is the most critical area for this. After I have my my spaces defined, like I'll go back in, and then I'll with a pretty wet brush just kind of put red, in this case, along the area that I'm going to be blending. You don't want too much. You don't want too little. You want it to stay wet. Then I'm going to go back in with some blue. And I'm trying to paint the blue like just right up to the red, but not mix them together. Trying to. All right, then I'm going to take a larger flat brush, and what I do is I put my brush so it's half on the red and half on the blue, and then I go like I mix them together like this. And then I go back and I blend them together. And this might not look like much right now, but if you do it 3 times, this technique 3 times over and over again, it'll look pretty pro if you do it right. And because I like, I move the brush back and forth kind of like in a squiggly motion, I like to go back and like smooth out the painted area. Just smooth out the brush strokes. And then oftentimes what I'll do is I'll repeat this process. And you don't really want to, when you're doing the squiggly motion with your brush, you want your movements to be, you don't want them to eclipse how wide your brush is, because then you'll have to go back into those areas and to clean it up. And if you get the colors too far on either side and it's wider than your brush, then that motion that you've just done with your brush in the paint will, it'll be outside the area that you're trying to blend. All right, so I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to make these little finger-shaped things red. I'm going to make this part red. I just feel like it's more interesting, you know, like in a shape this size, if you have more than one blended part. It's really important to have your paint the right viscosity. I hope that you can see that it's liquidy, but it's still somewhat opaque. I'm going to repeat that process. And with the same brush, make sure, you know, if you're doing it again, make sure you're not putting the blue side in the red and vice versa. You can see that half the brush is blue, half of it's red. Go back in, smooth it out. Got some red on my brush and the blue. Get rid of that. And that's essentially, you know, you repeat that. Within this shape, I will do that 3 times. Put 3 coats, same technique each time, and then you know, I'll make other shapes, and I'll essentially do that 1,000,000 times, and then I will hopefully have a finished painting. You know, you do it over and over again, you can get a pretty nice blend, one that will, you know, kind of approximate, you know, if you were using oils and like a fan brush to mix them, or if you were using like an airbrush or spray paint. I think probably what I'll do next is I'll, you know, I'm cognizant of the shapes that I'm, you know, obviously I'm aware, you know, I'm very aware of the shapes that I make because I'm thinking about what shape I'm going to incorporate next. So here I would probably, you know, lock in another shape, you know, and then, you know, something you can do is, or something I do is, you know, these large interlocking shapes will kind of function as like a, as not really a background, but a larger component to a painting. And then I will come in and make smaller versions of that to build an image. Thank you for coming by my studio at Bonded Llama. We do occasionally have open houses. I don't think we have one scheduled now, but we have a website, bondedllama.com. You can check out, yeah, enjoy your day.